All right, let's take a look at the lineup that he'll face off with. This is a totally different lineup than Mike Matheny's run out there so far. Matt Holliday will not play today, had that leg cramp yesterday, so Jeremy Hazelbaker hits out of the leadoff spot for the first time. And would you believe this? Matt Carpenter has never hit third in more than 600 career games. Grichuk and Moss follow. Then it's Molina, Jerko, and Diaz, the rookie, off to the fantastic start. And they do it against Shelby Miller, who's failed to get an out in the third over his last two starts.
And now I'll take Chip. So talking about Shelby Miller, the control has really been a problem. You talk about his last start, 5 walks, hasn't even got. Yep. So how it was, and the timing was enough on the opening.
So the roof is open at Chase Field for game 2 of this set between the Cardinals and the D-backs. Arizona trying to get its 8th win out of its last 10 after taking the opener last night 12-7. In a game they trailed 5-2 after 5 and then put up 9 in the 6th, including that 3-run blast from Gene Segura. We say welcome inside with Eric Karros. I'm Joe Davis. We've got a couple of bright young arms in this game, Shelby Miller and Carlos Martinez, but EK, they could not have gotten off to different starts this year.
Well, exactly right. Completely different starts, but a lot of similarities, as you mentioned. Both hard-throwing right-handers, both coming up in the Cardinal organization, both all-stars last year, but significant differences at the start of this season. Carlos Martinez got off out of the gate great, looking for his 4th win tonight. Shelby Miller, on the other hand, he cannot find the plate, cannot find control, was out of the game in only 2 innings in his last start. He's looking to right the ship tonight.
And he'll try to do it against a lineup for Mike Matheny that is much different than anything we've seen so far this season. Matt Holliday will not play, had that leg cramp last night, so Jeremy Hazelbaker, the rookie, leads off for the first time. And how about this? Matt Carpenter has never hit third in his entire career, more than 600 games. He does so for the first time tonight. Grichuk and Moss, then Molina, Jerko, the rookie, Diaz, and Martinez rounding out Matheny's lineup against Miller, who has not gotten an out in the 3rd inning in his last 2 starts, EK.
No, and you wonder, is it physical, is it mental, is it a combination of the two? You can look at those numbers right there, an 8.59 ERA. The control just has not been there at all. The one thing he's got going for him, history against his former Cardinal ball club. In over 15 innings pitched, only 1 earned run. He's looking to duplicate something like that tonight.
Included a matchup against Carlos Martinez at Busch last July, a 1-0 defeat. There's Chip Hale, manager of this D-back squad that's won 7 of 9 after the 4-8 start. They come into the game at 11-10 overall, 2nd in the National League West, chasing the Dodgers. Cardinals are 10-9 and 3rd in the Central behind the Cubs and the Pirates. Jeremy Hazelbaker is set to lead things off. Shelby Miller's first pitch of the day is taken for a strike, and off we go. Now Hazelbaker starting in left with Holliday out of the lineup today and hitting leadoff for the first time. 28-year-old that made his big league debut earlier this year.
Yeah, basically a career minor leaguer. He's really added a shot in the arm to this Cardinal ball club. 5 home runs already for a club that didn't think they were going to have a lot of power this year.
Yeah, these two teams tied for the major league lead, 30 home runs apiece. Hazelbaker came on last night for Holliday when he left that game with the cramp. He went 2 for 2 with a home run and a triple. And waits on this one too. He was the first Cardinal in the modern era to come into a game and triple and homer. So first guy to come off of the bench and do both those things since 1900.
When he got off to a real fast start this year, he's cooled as of late.
Breaking ball back up the middle. It's short. This is Nick Ahmed for the first out. So smooth at short. He's a guy that you don't hear a ton about around the country, but one of the best fielding shortstops.
You know, and that's something you talk about, you know, nationally not known, but you talk about top shortstops in the game. He's one of them. You see Segura over at second base, Paul Goldschmidt at first. Chris Owens patrolling center field. Yasmani Tomas, Peralta. Lamb heads it over at third. Behind the plate, Castillo.
David Piscotty jumps over the first pitch on Madigan.
I'll tell you what, I've got to say it because coming into this game, just studying up on the teams and talking to a lot of people, everybody's talking about Nick Ahmed, and he is the best shortstop that they've seen. Come on, he can't be the best shortstop. Really? And we see 2 plays right out of the gate, and they've told us, when you watch this guy play, you're not going to see anybody better. He has made 2 very difficult plays look routine. Shoot, we're 3 minutes in already. I'm a believer. I'm buying. I'm buying.
2 up, 2 down, and EK believes in Nick Ahmed. Matt Carpenter, again, hitting third for the first time in his career, with Holiday out of the lineup. 610th career game and hitting third for the first time. Shelby Miller trying to work a 1-2-3 first inning. And behind Carpenter, 2-0. Right-hander from Brownwood, Texas, has allowed 14 earned runs in 14 2/3 to start his time in a Diamondbacks uniform. His 2-0. This is wide, 3 balls and no strikes. Walked the first 4 men of the third inning against San Francisco on Thursday, and was pulled from that game. Second consecutive start that he failed to record it out in the third inning. And a 4-pitch walk to Carpenter.
That's got to be frustrating just because you've involved your defense, you're throwing strikes, you're 6 pitches into an inning and then 4 balls just basically out of nowhere. Now this is something where it becomes mentally challenging. Right now you've got to right yourself, take a deep breath, get back to what you were doing the first 2 hitters.
Randall Grichuk out of the cleanup spot. Had a base hit last night, 4 consecutive games with a hit now. And looks at strike 1. Grichuk, fantastic power. He's got 3 home runs this year, but that exit velocity up on the leaderboard across the majors. Last year he was in the top 10 in the National League. A lot of pop in this bat. Miller brings him in 0-1, and Grichuk swings and belts a fly ball to left, sending Tomas to the corner and makes the play. So a 2-out walk, but no damage against Shelby Miller. The D-backs come up against Carlos Martinez after this. Top 5 in the majors, averaging more than 5 runs per contest. Gene Segura's been so good at the top of this order. Goldschmidt, Peralta, Tomas, and Castillo through the middle, and Nick Ahmed batting 8th against Carlos Martinez, a right-hander from the Dominican. 3 starts for him this year, all of them quality starts.
Hey, you look at that opponent's batting average, 178. Not a lot of fun to hit against.
Held the Cubs to 1 run on 3 hits over 7 innings on Wednesday. Not many guys doing that this year. A 270 earned run average for the 24-year-old. Who starts Segura 2-0. Gene Segura, triple short of the cycle last night. And the major league hits leader here in his first season in Arizona. Chucks on Jed Jerko for the first out.
Now we take a look at the Cardinals defense, which been a bit porous, but it's still early part of the year. You look at that young infield. Diaz over at short, someone to watch. Carpenter at third, Jerko at second base, Brendan Moss over at first, Piscotty, Grichuk, and Hazelbaker in the outfield. And you know who's behind the plate. Been a staple there forever, Molina.
He's already caught more innings than anybody else in the National League this year. Strike 1 to Jake Lamb. Although last night Molina had 2 pass balls, and that's significant because it's the first time in one game that he's had 2 pass balls since 2005. 1-1 on Jake Lamb. Making the start against a right-handed pitcher tonight. Brandon Drury's been getting the bulk of the starts against lefties, and they're seeing a lot of lefties lately. One gone and a scoreless first and a 1-2. Hits him. So Jake Lamb reaches base with one away. What about our 4 keys to the game, EK?
I got a little something here for you, Joe. For the Cardinals, they've got to catch the ball. We talk about defensively, they lead the National League, actually lead all of baseball in errors. And Shelby Miller for the Diamondbacks, he's got to keep the velocity high. Talking to Chip Hale before the game, he was saying that when he drops down to 92, 91, it looks like he's trying to aim the ball. That's when he loses control.
Paul Goldschmidt was the only position player that didn't record a hit last night for Arizona in that 12-7 win. So the average not necessarily there for him so far. He's not felt himself over the first few weeks, but because of his patience and teams' fear of grooving one to him, leads the majors in walks and is top 5 in the National League in on base percentage. So bottom line, he's still reaching. Martinez quickly ahead of him, 0-2. Molina sets outside, and he lays off a breaking ball this time. MVP runner-up in the National League 2 of the last 3 years. Lost out to Andrew McCutchen in 2013 and Bryce Harper last year. Was in the running in 14 before an injury shut him down. Had that broken hand.
Yeah, you know, I didn't realize he was a runner-up 2 years. You know, you always think Mike Trout, that's a guy that never gets to win. You know, he finally won an MVP award, but always finished second. Paul Goldschmidt wearing that hat in the National League.
Waiting on a 1-2 from Carlos Martinez. And taking it inside 2-2. A lot like Nick Ahmed, we talked about in the top of this inning. You don't hear a ton about as one of the great fielders in the game right now. You don't hear a ton about Paul Goldschmidt nationally as one of the great hitters. And you should.
Yeah, I mean, if he's somewhere else, obviously he's, you know, one of the faces of the game. Things he does offensively and defensively as well.
I think part of it too is his personality. He's not a guy that seeks attention, even within this market. Keeps to himself. He's a quiet leader. Nothing flashy about him. Martinez got ahead of him 0-2. Now 3 consecutive balls. Lamb at first and 1 away. Martinez ready for a payoff pitch. And Goldschmidt takes it for ball 4. 22nd time that he's walked this season to lead the majors, and 2 on against Martinez here in the first.
Well, Martinez jumped ahead of Goldschmidt, 2 strikes right out of the chute, but then really didn't come close with any of the other pitches. Ended up walking it.
Martinez in his 4th big league season, was an all-star last year. Now gets David Peralta. With 2 on and 1 gone in the first inning. That's ball 1. Martinez over his first 2 major league seasons was mostly out of the bullpen, and so last year it was his first year as a full-time starter. Many of the numbers would tell you that it was the best age 23 season since Kershaw's age 23 season in 2011. Peralta Peralta corks a fly ball to deep left center field. That one is well done. Caught by Hazelbaker. He gave it a ride, but it hung in the yard for Hazelbaker to run under for a loud and long second out.
Left fielder, number 24.
You watch the runners in this situation here. See, Lamb gets down there, and then he gets back, which is the right spot to be. You're not trying to tag in that situation, because if it does drop, you easily score there. Goldschmidt heading down to second. Doesn't quite reach second base, so he doesn't have to retouch it. You know, some people would say, oh, maybe they should be tagging in that situation, but the way that ball was hit, you didn't know if it was going to go out or off the wall, and really Hazelbaker made a nice catch, but getting back there.
Especially with the way the ball's been carrying here in Arizona. Yep. Always does, but especially this year, it's really been flying. Yasmani Tomas fouls off the first one, strike one. You loved hitting here, huh?
So one of the reasons I enjoyed hitting in this place is the backdrop. Solid green, great batter's eye. Then, of course, the ball carried. You see that area right behind the pitcher. So there weren't any distractions. The only thing I didn't like about it was Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling were usually on the mound.
Tomas slips one to short, caught by Diaz, and that's the inning. D-backs put a couple of men on against Martinez, but leave him at first and second. On to the second, no score. Obviously, Coors Field everybody talks about. Chase Field right behind it as far as runs per game. But in this division, you've got the total opposite end of that spectrum at Dodger Stadium. Runs per game last in the National League as Brandon Moss takes ball one.
Yeah, Dodger Stadium never been a good place to hit. Always been a pitcher's ballpark. And it was interesting talking to Chip Hale prior to the game. You know, he talked about how you have to play a little differently depending on what ballpark you're playing in. You know, sometimes you can sit around and try to hit the ball in the air and drive it out of the park. Other places you're going to have to play hit and run. You're going to have to punt. You know, he's not just set on one style of baseball. Obviously, he caters to the environment.
And you've got to, being in this division. 2-1 on Moss. It's interesting that in runs per game, this place is as close as it is to Coors Field, because you don't typically hear about this in the same breath that you do Coors Field in regards to it being a launching pad, but it has been this year.
Yeah, so far this year, I mean, Coors Field gets the running head start, right, when you're talking about places to hit, just because for so long it has been, you know, I'm going to say it's been a joke to hit at. It really is. It's a joke to hit there. And, you know, there are going to be years where a field like this right now is right up there with Coors Field, but Coors Field is on an island of its own.
Dodgers and Rockies played a game there Sunday where the Rockies scored 5 times in the bottom of the 8th to take their first lead. The Dodgers scored 5 times in the top of the 9th to take it right back. Brandon Moss holds a soft line drive into right that'll sink in front of Peralta for a leadoff single. So Moss aboard with the first hit of the day for either side, and up comes Yadier Molina.
Catcher number 4.
When you take a look at this pitch, fastball gets it in, but just not in far enough. Brandon Moss does a nice job of fighting it off, hitting it into right field.
How about the year Molina's having? What a bounce back it's been after what was his worst offensive season in close to a decade last year. He's reached base now in 14 consecutive games that he's started this year. Goes after the first one, pops it up, and is short right center for Peralta. So Miller gets a quick out, one away in the second.
Second baseman.
And we talked about Miller and some of the things that he's been doing as far as, you know, why is he in this funk? Seeing some physical things where he's dragging his hand on the ground after he throws. Been trying to work extra with more bullpens. And the real test is what happens when the third inning comes.
Yeah. Faces Jed Jerko. And misses upstairs with ball one. Yeah, he hasn't made it out in the third inning in either of his last two starts. He walked 4 in a row to start the third at San Francisco in his last outing. You mentioned some of the extra work he's been doing between starts. Jerko turns on one, flies it into shallow left center. Nick Ahmed there for the second out. Well, Saturday, Major League Baseball continues on FS1. It's the Giants and the defending NL champion Mets, all starting at 3:30 Eastern on FS1. You can also watch it live on Fox Sports Go. Both those teams getting hot after slow stretches early on this season. But back to Miller, you know, you normally have that side session between starts. He had 2 of them. One of them came on the actual game mound. Normally they're thrown down in the bullpen. So he misses down and away with ball one to Aledmys Diaz, but putting in the extra work to try and overcome whatever it is he's dealing with.
Well, a great kid, and he's going to go out and work, and he wants to do well. He wants to prove to everybody that the trade from the Braves, absolutely the right deal. You know, and again, as you mentioned, not usual, as you see pitching coach Mike Butcher there, you know, not usual to go out and throw your bullpen off the mound. And then, as you mentioned earlier, he went and threw another bullpen later. You know, 2 bullpens in 2 days.
That was all his idea. Nobody prodded him to do that. Delivers a strike to Diaz. 1-2. Runner at first with 2 gone and a scoreless second inning. And a 1-2 to Aledmys Diaz.
I tell you, look at from that shot right there. It really shows the speed of this game. You know, how quick you have to react while you're up at the plate. You know, sometimes we've got that center field shot or we're behind home and you just say, "Wow, man, I don't know how those guys can't hit that. Jeez, should be killing that.
Right down the middle,
I
man.
do that at the cages." But geez, from the side here, holy mackerel. Boom.
Straight to short. Ahmed goes the short way to finish the inning. Leadoff single from Brandon Moss, but nothing else. Shelby Miller effective through 2. First inning, but stranded him at first and second. On to the bottom of the second, and a scoreless game 2 of this series between the Cardinals and D-backs. Ball 1 to Wellington Castillo. So Arizona brings up 6, 7, and 8. Castillo red hot lately. His last 3 games, 8 hits, 3 homers, 7 RBIs. And he goes after this one. Sends a high fly ball to right for Piscotty, who's got room at the edge of the track for out number 1. Well, Carlos Martinez, who was an all-star last year in his first year as a full-time starter, despite being slowed down the stretch with a sore shoulder. Since May 15th, since midway through May last year, these are the top pitchers in baseball by ERA. It's a pretty darn good group to be part of.
It really is. You know, and a lot of people forget, you know, we talk about the Cubs this year and, oh, they're going to go to the World Series and they did these great things last year. Remember in that series, St. Louis versus the Cubs in the playoffs, there was no Carlos Martinez. You know, he was injured. He had been their most effective starter last year, and he didn't even get an opportunity to pitch in that series.
Williams goes to right as well. Piscotty busy out there. 2 out.
You know, and the point is that, you know, this Cardinal ball club, again, with their pitching, they get Wainwright. He gets back into his group. Their starting pitching can match up with anybody in baseball.
It's interesting that, you know, last year, even with Wainwright out for much of the season, you know, with the sore shoulder down the stretch for Martinez, and there's Derek Lilliquist, their pitching coach. They posted a .299 earned run average. The rotation did. That was the best in the majors in 4 years. This year, you get Wainwright healthy. You've got Martinez back. You add Mike Leake. But over the first few weeks, they're in the bottom half of the majors as far as rotation ERA. Nick Ahmed takes ball one.
Really tough to explain. Again, the pitching hasn't been what they had hoped, at least to start the season. But offensively, they've been great.
3 pop-ups, 3 balls in the air in this inning. It's the second baseman, Jerko. A 6-pitch inning for Carlos Martinez, and no score to the third. Off mechanically falling to his left in that follow-through. His counterpart, Carlos Martinez, takes a strike.
And it's so far in this early part of the game, we haven't seen anything that resembles that at all. He's not falling off to that first base side. Hasn't looked at his hand as far as dragging it on the ground. You know, a lot of times you may see that from a sidearm pitcher. Sometimes they get so low that they will drive that hand, the knuckles scrape the ground. But I can't recall the last time I saw a guy throw directly over the top, drive his hand into the ground.
And he strikes out Martinez to begin this third inning. First punch out for him.
You see here, you watch, he's compact, and then now he does get low, but see, he's in a good position right there, almost like the old Tom Seaver drop and drive. You know, where he would get into trouble is that hand. You see, look at how he even opens it up in that situation right there. Well, before, he was driving those knuckles into the dirt. Really not even close there.
Misses with ball one to Jeremy Hazelbaker, and that's something where, you know, you're trying to figure out if it's physical or it's mental. When your hand's hitting the mound, it's got to be a combination of both.
Well, you know, maybe you're trying to get lower, trying to exaggerate driving to home plate. But what's interesting is once you start to do that, then you start thinking, okay, wait a minute, I don't want to hit my hand here.
Yeah.
So then maybe you're not driving as much as you'd like to, and then that's where you can have the mechanical flaws. This is a game of repetition, whether at the plate or on the mound.
Nicely placed for a strike to get ahead of Hazelbaker 1-2, and this is the inning where he's had the issues against San Francisco his last time. He walked the first 4 men in the third and was pulled from that game. Is 1-2.
I tell you, one of the best things that could happen for this inning was the pitcher leading off. You know, that's got to be a mental. Okay, here we go.
Facing his former team, facing the team that drafted him in the first round in 2009. Debuted with the Cardinals in 2012, then was dealt to Atlanta for Jason Hayward. He's got back-to-back Ks to open the third. You can follow live baseball with the MLB.com bat app. Stay up to the moment at any moment with Game Day, live game video highlights, and plenty more. It's the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. So 2 away in the third, and here's Stephen Piscotty. Grounded out to short his first time, and a nice play by Ahmed. So Miller was traded from St. Louis to Atlanta for Jason Hayward, and then was traded from Atlanta to Arizona for Ender Inciarte, who had been a really good outfielder for the D-backs, for Dansby Swanson, who was the first overall pick in last year's draft, and for Aaron Blair, who was the top pitching prospect in the Diamondback system and just debuted for the Braves over the weekend. So they've given up a lot for a guy, and because of that, there are huge expectations for him.
And no doubt that he's feeling that, and especially with the way the start of the season has gone for him, it's even added pressure. But I think that the fact that, again, you know, he's come out, he's throwing bullpens, he's throwing off the mound. He wants to make it work. He's a very hard worker, great kid, great teammate. The reality is he and Greinke get going on this ball club, going to be in this Western Division all year long.
And he strikes out the side in the third. A much different third inning for Shelby Miller than in San Francisco. He's retired the last 6 that he's faced after the Moss single, and strikes out the side here in inning number 3. Shelby Miller starts The third inning by taking ball one from Carlos Martinez back here in Arizona. Our good friends over at Fox Sports Arizona handing out some Fox Sports Go t-shirts there on the concourse. Info on it. They've revamped the app. Gotta have it. It's a beautiful ballpark and a perfect night to have the roof open. Light blue skies above, and pretty decent crowd has filed in for this Tuesday matchup after the D-backs took the opener last night 12-7. Shelby Miller cracks one of the ground is short. This is Diaz. How about the press room dessert? You got Cold Stone Creamery in there. Are you kidding me?
All you can eat Cold Stone Creamery.
Yeah.
Sampling my second of the evening.
Yeah.
And I figure the third one will go down probably by the 5th.
Looks like we're not the only ones that have.
Look at that.
So you have your second right now. You're gonna wait a couple innings and get the other.
Knock the third one out by the 5th.
But you're doing it. How
pacing myself.
Yeah, you're pacing yourself, and you're doing it in the correct order. You've got more of a fruity one right now, and then you're having your dessert in the 5th, which is the birthday cake. Right. Yeah. You wouldn't want to have that before the fruit version.
No. There's absolute order.
Ball and a strike on Segura. Oh yeah. So it didn't have to go far. Locally sourced Cold Stone.
Yeah, that's good.
2-1 on Gene Segura, who has had a monster start to this season. His first year in Arizona, came over in a trade from Milwaukee this offseason. He's one to a drawn in Carpenter. 2 up, 2 down.
Well, Martinez so far looking pretty good. First time through the lineup, through the order. Not any hard hit balls. The only 2 base runners hit by pitch and a walk. Although Peralta did put a jolt into his. More of a fly ball, though.
Overshift on for the left-handed batting Jake Lamb. Pulls it right in that direction, and Brandon Moss takes it to the bag. That is 8 consecutive retired by Martinez since the Goldschmidt walk. Well, now running the baseball ops department, the CBO officially, the Diamondbacks. Launching his team in a scoreless game as we move on to the 4th, and Matt Carpenter takes strike 1 from Shelby Miller. Walked his first time. Well, how nice has it had to have been for a guy in his first major league managing job, and Chip Hale, who's now in his 2nd season as the D-back skipper, but to have a guy like Tony La Russa to be able to bounce ideas off of and ask questions.
And he mentioned that to us in the meeting prior to the game, that Tony spends a lot of time talking to him, and will answer any of the questions that Chip has. And I was watching batting practice today, and Tony was down there talking to Chip. And again, just a wealth of knowledge. The history, as you see Chip Hale right there. Congratulations to Chip, also named to the All-Century, what is now the Pac-12 baseball team. Start at University of Arizona. He could play.
Were you on there?
I played at UCLA. No, beat out by Mark McGuire and John Olerud.
Oh, come on.
Pretty 2 decent first basemen. Anyhow, getting back, Tony, Chip, and Chip. There's Tony right there, and he is obviously a wealth of knowledge, experience. He's obviously in a new role, and moving away from the field. But what he and Dave Stewart, Derek Hall leading this charge, and this organization going in the right direction.
Carpenter rockets one past first and foul. It's 1-2. There's
Stu. Deshaun Watson right there. 2 guys, great baseball minds there.
And they have really decided to go for it now.
I'll tell you, look at Stu right there, man. It looks like he's ready to pitch. Yeah. He's ready to compete right now.
1-2 to Carpenter. Slipped out of his hand, and it's 2-2.
Well, and you talk about it, Stu and Dave Stewart
what he's done in the game. You know, obviously started off with the Dodgers and then really made a name for himself with the Oakland A's and the postseason.
There's a base hit for Carpenter. Took an aggressive turn and held up. And a leadoff single here in the fourth.
Well, you see the shift right there, and Matt Carpenter just hits it over into center field. You know, it's interesting how we were watching. I think it was the Cardinals were taking infield practice during BP. Guys were taking ground balls. They had a guy out in right field, short right field, taking ground balls off the grass.
Right.
I guarantee you the field crew is saying, get off the grass, you're killing it.
Here's Grichuk after the leadoff single from Carpenter. And Grichuk hits a high fly ball to left center field. Owings and Tomas. Owings makes the call and the catch. Saturday, Premier Boxing Champions brings you the long-awaited rematch. Yeah, the shifts. We see it from 7 and 10 each night, or whatever your game time may be, how it affects the game, but it affects the lead up to the game too, and the way you practice, the way teams are taking infields. You go into spring training and there's a significant chunk of time, not just in taking ground balls, but the situational side of now being positioned differently.
Well, and what happens, guys are on base and there's base hits, who's covering what bag. You know, the things that you've learned conventionally have changed, have been altered.
You know, Moss swings and misses, 1-1.
It was interesting. I was reading some comments the other day made by Joe Girardi, who said he thought that it, quote unquote, shifts should be illegal, should not be allowed, and he likened it to, you know, the NBA playing the zone defense. You just shouldn't be allowed to do it the way the field's set up, the game is set up. He said, look, as long as they're going to allow it, sure, we're going to do it. But he said that, you know, I don't think it should be allowed.
What do you think?
I mean, it's an interesting concept as far as, look at this field was designed a certain way with 2 guys on one side of the field, 2 guys on the other side of the infield. Now to change that, you know, obviously it makes sense because of the data and you can be more productive defensively. But I'd never heard anybody express it like Joe Girardi did and liken it to, again, a zone defense in basketball. I think it makes some sense.
Gets Moss, 4th strikeout for Shelby Miller. So how would you do it? Would you draw a line up the middle of the field, or
Catcher, Yadier Molina.
I haven't quite figured it out. Look, you don't need a shift if you're throwing this. It looks like a splitter. This thing just dropping out of the zone. Moss swinging over it. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I read those comments from Girardi, and you know, it got me to thinking. It does. There is some merit to what he's saying.
Yadier Molina takes upstairs. These two teams in the middle of the pack in baseball as far as percentage of the time that they employ shifts. Houston Astros do it more than anybody else. 1-0 from Shelby Miller. Molina swings and misses, 1-1. Miller working against the guy that has caught almost half of his career innings. And Yadier Molina, 8-time Gold Glover. In his 13th big league season, he's been an all-star 7 consecutive years. And even with the 2 thumb surgeries in the offseason, off to a great start here in 2016.
Well, and you can see that they're staying away from Molina. You know, he's got that right side open because Goldschmidt having to hold the runner. Segura shade towards second base.
Stay away again, 3-1.
You see the hits by direction. You know, granted 9 the most to left field, but you know, only 2 off going to center and right.
Certainly not enough to overshift him. Sprayed the ball pretty well so far this year. Waits on a 3-1 from Shelby Miller. And just misses off of the outside edge, ball 4. That's the second walk issued by Miller. And the Cardinals with 2 base runners with 2 gone here in the 4th.
And I think in a situation like that, although Miller ends up walking Molina, you have to look at those pitches. Those were just an inch or 2 off of the plate. Molina doing a great job of being disciplined and not going after a quote-unquote pitcher's pitch.
Scott's MLB Pitch Hit and Run is the official youth skills competition of Major League Baseball, and it's free for boys and girls ages 7 through 14. Play your way into the national finals. Learn more. Find a local competition in your area. PitchHitRun.com. Jed Jerko out of the 7 spot is 0 for 1. He's been good in these situations this year with men in scoring position. Trying to get the Cardinals on the board in the 4th. Strike 1. Cardinals are number 2 in the majors in runs. A little more than 6 per game, only trailing the Cubs. And this is a lineup that last year was 24th in the majors in runs scored. Here's the 0-1 to Jed Jerko. Bottom of the zone, strike 2.
Well, Miller doing a real nice job of wearing out that right side of the plate. And he's constantly trying to attack. He missed a few times with Molina, but has come right back against Jerko. Ahead in the count, 0-2. You just got to stay out there.
That's where Castilla sets. And just miss. Ball 1. So far, Shelby Miller's best outing in a Diamondbacks uniform. His 5th outing of the year. And coming against his former team, who he's done nothing but dazzle against in 2 outings against them since they traded him away prior to last season. Final start of the regular season last year, had 8 shutout innings. And then in a game where Carlos Martinez, like tonight, was the Cardinals starting pitcher, gave up 1 run on 2 hits over 7+, and still lost. He delivers 1-2 and just misses again. Boy, that outside corner not there right now from Adam Hamari.
No, not at all. And the thing about it is Shelby Miller is displayed an ability to constantly go out there and hit that spot. So you'd think that maybe the zone might expand a bit, but hasn't as of yet.
Two of the top 3 in the National League in runs scored, these 2 teams. 2-2, and Jerko fouls it off. First year with the Cardinals, came over from the Padres in exchange for John Jay. And faced his former team over the weekend, had a pair of 3-hit games against him.
Well, Jerko a few years ago displayed some power, over 20 home runs, signed a multi-year deal. It just didn't continue to progress the way the Padres had hoped.
2 on, 2 out, and another 2-2. Breaking ball is hammered down the left field line, but he hooked it foul. You're talking about that power. Flash some of it there.
Well, and you see Castillo wanted that pitch on the outer part of the plate, wanted a breaking ball out there, and Miller didn't get it out there. He just kind of rolled this thing over the middle of the plate. Jerko pulls the ball foul. And it was far, but it was foul. But it was really, you know, that pitch completely missed the spot that Castillo was calling for. Just rolled up a breaking ball.
Shelby Miller's already allowed 5 long balls this year. Winds up striking him out as Castillo holds on, and Jerko frustrated knowing he just missed a 3-run homer by inches. And in a scoreless game, Paul Goldschmidt set to lead things off for the D-backs in the bottom of the 4th in Arizona when you come back. Out is fouled in for game 2 of this set. Paul Goldschmidt looks at ball 1 from Carlos Martinez. Walked against him his first time up. One of 2 base runners the D-backs have had. The other one was on a hit by pitch. So the D-backs still looking for their first hit of the night against Martinez. 24-year-old right-hander delivers 2-0. It's queued up along first. It takes a nasty bounce. Bobbled, and they get him. Goldschmidt hustling his way up the line to make sure that Martinez had to recover. In and out of the glove of Moss. Martinez gets it and gets Goldschmidt. And he's slow to get to his feet.
I mean, you see that all the time. 3-1.
Yeah.
Your scorebook. First base to the pitcher. Right? You know what's really weird is Martinez. Well, first of all, that ball is cute, and look how far foul it starts. Then there's so much spin in there. Even the way Martinez touches the bag and then Goldschmidt going to approach it. Look how far foul that thing was.
That is amazing.
Watch this way. It looks like Goldschmidt just kind of stop and try and stick his foot in there.
Good job by Martinez to be over there. And give him a minute after he had to make an awkward play to get the out.
That is not the 2-0 swing that Paul Goldschmidt is looking for right there.
Just hasn't quite been himself yet.
No. I mean, still getting on base at over a 400 clip coming into tonight. But, you know, we want to see 45 home runs and 120 RBIs all by the end of April. You know, not going to happen.
And he historically has been a hot starter, but not this year. David Peralta flied to left his first time and takes ball 1. That's the thing. I mean, you look at the Diamondbacks, Shelby Miller, Zach Greinke, they're 2 big offseason acquisitions, not good so far. Paul Goldschmidt, they're all everything slugger, has not been himself. A.J. Pollock lost maybe for the entire season with the fractured elbow. Yet here they are having won 7 of 9.
And that's a good way to look at it. You've got to be pleased with where you're at if you're a Diamondback fan, considering that you feel like you're going to get more contributions from these guys. I mean, Zach Greinke, you know, because of the year he had last year, everybody just expected him to continue.
First hit of the day for the Diamondbacks, a 1-out single for David Peralta. Time for a game break. Hello, Chris Myers.
Left fielder, Yasmani Tomas.
Yeah, I'm unfortunately hopping on a plane when this game finishes to head back to the Midwest.
Not fun to hit in 34, I can tell you that right now.
You prefer to be here, huh?
No bueno.
Yasmani Tomas. Hit a soft line out to short his first time.
Some young ones enjoying the game here, and some food.
Cold Stone's all gone because he K'd it. After the first hit of the day for the D-backs, Tomas shoots one down the right field line, foul, and it's 0-2. We're talking about Greinke and Miller and some of these players they expect to get back to their norms. Zach Greinke 2-2 with an ERA above 6 so far. Last night 7 runs on 11 hits, but was able to go 6 2/3 even without his best stuff to help protect his bullpen.
You know, that's one of the things that Chip Hale was talking about prior to the game. A guy like Greinke's not having his best stuff, but he's still giving some good innings where he's still helping the ball club. You know, Paul Goldschmidt still getting on base. You know, a presence in that lineup. You know, and they're getting contributions from others right now. And because these guys aren't leading the charge, it's allowed and forced some other guys to produce. And then they're going to gain some confidence. And then when everything gets rolling, look out.
First year in Arizona. Here's a 1-2. It bounces out of the mid of Molina. A nice stop to keep it close. And it evens up on Tomas. Here are the numbers for Zach Greinke by starts through his first 5 starts. Gave up those 2 home runs on opening day to Trevor Story of Colorado. 2 of his 8 that he's hit so far, and it gotten progressively better before allowing those 7 last night. Runner at first with 1 gone and a scoreless game in the 4th. And Martinez to Tomas with a 2-2. Big bouncer over the mound is short. Diaz goes to second. Jerko turns it but late. Tomas hustling up that line to keep the inning alive. They'll see if they want to challenge this. Go through the process in the dugout with the video folks taking a look and letting Matheny know.
I'm going to say no. What do you think?
Going to look first?
Nope, I don't want to look. I'm going to be like Tom Hallion out there. You got it right.
Yep. Umpires are taught to look at the bag for the foot and listen for the pop of the knee. It was a correct call from Tom Hallion. So Tomas with a hustle keeps the frame alive for Castillo, who's been so good lately. He rattled off those numbers in his last few games. His last time up, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs in his last 3 games. All of that, and he says he still doesn't feel quite right. You ever go through a stretch like that where you're producing and the numbers are there, but you still maybe don't feel like you should be getting?
I don't recall that. You know, if I was struggling, and I would struggle, and it was when I was feeling good, comfortable, I'd feel smooth. That's when things would go well. You know, every once in a while you don't know how you hit a ball, but you wouldn't go on any kind of stretch where you didn't feel good and hit well.
Bottom of the 4th inning, Cardinals and D-backs. Joe Davis and Eric Karros in Phoenix at Chase Field. Cardinals are 10-9. D-backs are 11-10, a game and a half behind the Dodgers in the West. Well, they've won 7 of 9 after that 4-8 start. Tomas at first with 2 gone, and 0-2 on Castillo. He's in his first full season with the Diamondbacks. Came over in the Mark Trumbo deal from the Mariners last year. Tries to lay off. Can't. Tom Hallion punches him out. Would you believe it? That's the first strikeout of the game for Carlos Martinez. Even with that filthy stuff, there's still no score.
And if you are celebrating your birthday here at Chase Field,
it was above 500. And it was the first time in the modern era, which goes back to 1900, that with 50 at-bats or more, a rookie has had an average above 500.
Well, he's definitely been swinging the bat. A little trouble defensively. 5 errors already. Johnny Peralta expected back.
And there's that pretty stroke of his, dropping a base hit in the left center to start the 5th. And so what do you do then? I mean, if this kid keeps hitting above 400.
Well, I don't know. Can he take some balls at second is the question. You got Colton Wong there, though. You know, is he a utility guy? I don't think you can send the bat back down to the minor leagues. There's just no way, right? But on the flip side, he's got to play. And if he's your shortstop for the future, you send him down and you get him reps.
Peralta, by the way, has been cleared for light fielding work this week while he wears a protective splint. That left thumb surgery after hurting it during spring training. They'll reevaluate it again in a couple weeks, but looking at sometime mid-season for him to come back. And you mentioned Colton Wong being at second. Now, coming into the year, you would have said, well, then there is no spot for Diaz at second because Wong just signed that new contract, but he has gotten off to a miserable start for the Cardinals. and is no longer even playing every day.
Well, if you can hit, you'll find your way into the lineup. That's how it goes.
It's amazing to see that the Cardinals are second in baseball in runs scored per game, and that's with guys like Wong and Grichuk and even Carpenter and Holiday to a lesser extent off to slow starts. Relied on the unexpected breakouts of guys like Diaz and Jeremy Hazelbaker. Martinez pulls it back and flies it foul. Strike one.
That pitch high in the zone, probably ball two, but Martinez probably excited to the fact that he had the opportunity to not have to bunt and get to swing the bat. I'm going to pass that up.
Squares this time and takes it low. 2 balls and a strike on Martinez. He can handle the bat pretty well. He has 3 hits this year. Up there to sacrifice in a scoreless game with Diaz leading off with a single. Lays this one down. Goldschmidt has one play. It's at first, and we check in with Chris Myers for a game break.
Left fielder, Jeremy Hazelbaker.
He was probably so mad coming into tonight's game because if you're hitting 213 and you get a day off in Colorado,
yeah,
like he did last night, you'd be hot. Hot.
There are places you would prefer to have your off days, right?
Jeez.
Jeremy Hazelbaker back at the top of the St. Louis order is 0 for 2 tonight. Leading off for the first time. He's one of those guys they've gotten a surprise breakout performance from with the key cogs in their lineup off to slow starts. Hazelbaker, 28 years old. He spent 7 seasons in the minors before making his debut this year as the 25th and final man on the roster, with Ruben Tejada suffering that quad strain. More significant role with Tommy Pham's injury, and now with Matt Holliday dealing with what has been phrased as a leg cramp.
Oh, nice job by Castillo here, keeping the ball in front. Not letting Diaz advance to third base. Miller having a little trouble. You remember those pitches to Martinez, although he ended up sacrificing. Could have easily walked it. Basically threw him 4 balls. Martinez bunted at a high pitch, also swung and fouled off a high pitch. Got 2 balls here. Good job of going out to the mound, kind of breaking up things, letting Miller kind of grab his breath, regroup, get started again, get back into that groove he had been in earlier in the game.
Has to be careful here with the 2-0 count on a guy that has 5 home runs already this year. Diaz at second with 1 gone, and here is that 2-0 from Miller. Just off of the inside, and he's fallen behind 3-0.
Miller really liking that side of the plate, away to the right-handers, into the left-handers. It's been a constant theme so far tonight.
And another constant theme has been Adam Hamari not giving it to him.
Yep, exactly right.
Making sure Diaz can't get much of a lead. 4-pitch walk to Hazelbaker. It's the 3rd free pass from Miller. And the Cardinals have 2 on with 1 out. Tomorrow on an all-new episode of The Ultimate Fighter, Team Joanna against Team Claudia. The coaches waste no time going for each other's jugular. I'm just reading the copy, Eric. Plus, a friendship is put to the test when training partners square off in the octagon. It's all tomorrow. 10 Eastern and Pacific. And that is pronounced Clausia. Clausia. Said Claudia to me, but Team Clausia and Team Joanna. And don't miss Tough Talk immediately following a new episode all season long. See that clock there? Visits now timed to get 30 seconds when you bring pitching coach or manager out of the dugout. Part of Major League Baseball's Pace of Play initiative, which did a nice job last year shaving off some game time on average. They shortened games from an average of 3 hours and 2 minutes to 2 hours 56 minutes from 2014 to 2015. I think that the brass would like to get it down to around 250 with the additional emphasis. Here's Stephen Piscotty. Ball one.
Well, he struck out Piscotty on a called third in his last at bat. First time up, he offered at the first pitch, grounded short. This is a pivotal pitch right here. You don't want to go to 2-0. You've thrown 5 balls in a row. The one thing I can say is that he's stayed disciplined, and that he's continued to work that outside part of the plate, stayed on the corner. Really an excellent pitch.
Former Brave, former Cardinal Shelby Miller delivering 2-1 or 1-1. 1-2 now on Piscotty.
Gets Piscotty to offer at this pitch, never really in the strike zone at all, and then breaks even further away. Has not gone on inside to a right-hander.
Stays away. Piscotty digs it out of there, floating to right center. Owings can't get it and kicks it all the way to right field. They give Diaz the wave. Here's the throw. It's not in time, and the Cardinals lead 1-0. Chris Owings playing center field for the first time since he was 12 years old this year in place of the injured A.J. Pollock. Couldn't handle it.
He just misjudges this. I mean, it just goes right by him. It's not anything other than a clank off the knee. May have hit the glove, but looked like knee. The base runners couldn't go anywhere because they thought for sure he would catch that. He is heading back and then just motoring all the way. Hazelbaker, he's there. He's halfway, which is where he should be. He's going back because thinks Owings has a beat on it. And he picks up the third base coach. Moves on to third. Just got, I don't know if that was lights or anything, but it was just misjudged.
They rule it a double and an RBI for Piscotty. So the Cardinals strike first here in the 5th inning, and with first base open, they'll put Matt Carpenter on. Take their chances with Randall Grichuk. All the reviews have been good for Chris Owings with a move from the middle infield out there to center, but didn't look too good on that one.
That ball should have been caught. I think if you ask Owings, he'd tell you. You would have expected it. I think you go back though. Miller, he had Piscotty 2 strikes. He hadn't thrown anything inside. And I would have liked to have seen Castillo just go inside, because as a hitter, you just keep looking outside. See, Piscotty just poaches. This is a routine fly ball. He goes with the slide, misjudges it. I think this hit off his knee. And I'm not so sure that he needed to slide. That's all knee. You have to get some ice on that thing.
Randall Grichuk now with the bases loaded and a chance for the Cardinals to bust this thing open. It's Grichuk, great power. No grand slams in his career though. Fly ball to right. Peralta drifting back on it. Hazelbaker tags and will head for the plate. RBI sac fly from Randall Grichuk, and it's 2-0 St. Louis.
2-0. You know, you got a couple of walks, a sacrifice fly, a single that really should have been caught. Just some bad luck.
Which Miller knows something about.
Well, he's talking to himself right now. Yeah, absolutely. With that year he had last year, huh? Oof.
And what, an ERA around 3. It was the best of his career, yet he lost a major league high 17 games. Had the worst run support in the majors last year. The Braves got him about 2.5 runs per start. Brandon Moss flies it foul.
Well, you look at it this way, it could be worse. He could be playing for the Braves this year.
Oh my gosh. Stay hot.
Wow.
3 home runs they have as a team at this point.
How about if you're Freddie Freeman on that ball
Chase.
club? Man, you know, you signed that multi-year deal a few years ago. You think you're going to have Hayward there and some other guys. You're going to build a nucleus, and then bam. Fast forward a couple years later, and you're on your own island.
Some movement of that Diamondbacks pen. The Braves aiming their rebuild towards their new stadium, which is set to open next season, but they
might want to push that back maybe another 2 years if they're.
Yeah. Got a couple of nice prospects though for Shelby Miller and Dansby Swanson, who was the top pick in the draft last year, and Aaron Blair made his big league debut on Sunday.
Well, look, it's not without effort. They have some guys that, you know, will be good ball players. They have some veterans that are holding the fort there. But the reality is it's tough for them to compete.
You said it with Freddie Freeman, man, having to be in the middle of all that, signing that long-term deal. Moss unloads on one. That's a no-doubt shot for Brandon Moss. And the Cardinals have broken it open against Miller with a 5 spot here in the 5th. Fifth of the season for Moss, and it's 5-0 St. Louis. Brings up Yadier Molina. It is unraveled on Shelby Miller quickly.
Yeah, Moss gets a hold of it. You know, I'm just trying to go back and find where Miller has worked the other side of the plate. He has stayed away to the right-handers and inside to the left-handers all night long. He has continued to pound that right side of the plate, which I get. That can be where you want to try to get people out, but you've got to throw inside once in a while. You see this pitch here, a little bit in, middle in. See, he went inside there.
They got Molina to finish the inning. A misplay in center field from Chris Owings opened the door for a big St. Louis inning. Couldn't pull that one in. First run scored. They got another on a sacrifice fly from Grichuk, and then Moss with a 3-run shot. 5-0 Cardinals. Carlos Martinez getting some support from Brandon Moss. A 3-run homer as part of a 5-run 5th inning. And now the D-backs, which have only 1 hit, go back to work. This is after the home run. Brandon Moss taking a cup full of water to the face from Carlos Martinez. I guess they do it after every home run, even in games where Martinez is the starting pitcher.
Yeah, you usually don't see that often, the night starting pitcher being involved like that. But Martinez just out there, an emotional guy, a lot of energy.
Bottom third of the D-backs order. Chris Owings takes a strike, 1-2.
Chip Hale telling us prior to the game that he always feels, and the guys feel, that they're going to score runs in this ballpark.
Charge charging. Diaz has it. And gets Owens.
You know, they just continue to battle, give good at-bats. Things will happen for them here.
They have in 4 straight games scored at least 7 runs. The Diamondbacks have. That's the longest stretch of games with at least 7 runs scored since 2010. And a 9-run inning last night put him in the top 5 in the majors in runs scored. And so this thing far from finished. This is not Coors Field, but it's pretty darn close. And the way the ball flies. Nick Ahmed, ball 1. Sends it in the air to center. Grichuk on the move. Over the shoulder makes the play. Rendell Grichuk with a tip of the cap from Martinez. Not an easy play to make.
Well, he gets a great jump on this pitch. And then just sprints. Doesn't drift, doesn't try to time it, just turn and let's go. Really a nice job. You talked about his athleticism, clearly on display there.
He was taken 1 pick in the draft before Mike Trout, but also by the Angels. Angels had back-to-back picks and took both Grichuk and Trout. They traded Grichuk to the Cardinals in the David Freese deal a couple of years ago. He said he hopes that he's making them shake their heads and regret doing it. Shot on the ground is second. And they will throw out Goslin, who is pinch hitting for Shelby Miller. Quite an inning for the Cardinals. Brandon Moss in the top half of the inning put a Kemper on a 5-run frame. And then in the bottom half, Grichuk flashing the leather, helping Martinez execute a 1-2-3 inning. Season for the Cardinals, a team that last year was down in the bottom part of the majors in most offensive categories, but those 31 homers lead the bigs.
Yeah, nice start for this St. Louis ball club offensively, and again, not from the household names. Holiday or even Carpenter's got a few, but getting contributions from a lot of different guys.
Last time St. Louis led the majors in home runs, 1944. Dominic Leone into the game, replacing Shelby Miller. And a high fly ball to center, sending Chris Owings back. Off for the bat of Jed Jerko for the first out. So Leone is the 19th pitcher that the Diamondbacks have used this season. That ties him with the Braves for the most in baseball. They've had that shuttle going back and forth between here in AAA over this first month, trying to keep the pen fresh. Last season got lit up in 13 games in the majors. And misses upstairs to Aledmys Diaz. Arizona Penn throwing more than 4 innings per game. That's the most in the majors. And so they've needed all those different arms to be shuttled back and forth from AAA here to the big club. See the difference in the bullpen usage. Cardinals 6th fewest innings thrown by the bullpen.
And again, that goes back to your starters.
Look to left for Tomas Stuber.
You know, whether it's Miller not giving him a lot of innings, Greinke, that starting pitching has to be better to give that bullpen a rest.
Well, it's time, EK, to get major league coverage. T-Mobile has doubled its 4G LTE in the last year. Now covers over 305 million Americans. Beautiful night here in Phoenix. Chase Field, the roof is open. Perfect temperature. The Cardinals with a 5 spot in the 5th. Trying to even this series at a game apiece. Carlos Martinez hacks at the first one. Strike 1. Outdueling Shelby Miller tonight, his former teammate. Pulling a soft box at a third for Jake Lamb. That's a 1-2-3 inning. And Dominic Leone's 2016 debut. Needed just 6 pitches. Opener this year, Lou Brock. A legendary Cardinal throughout the first pitch. Cardinals are putting together a year-long campaign right now to help raise money for childhood diabetes. Lou Brock, battling with diabetes, had his left leg amputated below the knee from complications with his diabetes. But was involved in the ceremony there, and the Cardinals pulling together to raise money in support of the disease that he's battling. Carlos Martinez facing the top of the Arizona order, and Gene Segura looping a base hit into right to start the inning. Only the second hit against Martinez. 33rd of the season for Segura, which leads the majors. Lou Brock, a 6-time All-Star, famously traded over from the Cubs. The all-time greats went into the Hall in 1985. Diamondbacks offense had scored at least 7 runs in 4 straight games, trying to put together something. Third time they've brought the order up against Martinez, who misses down and away to Jake Lamb. He hit Lamb in the first. He then walked Goldschmidt, but got the next 2 men to get out of that inning with no damage. All 5 runs have scored in the 5th. 2-0 on Lamb.
Well, Martinez used to pitching with a lead. 5-0. He's got the highest run support of all National League pitchers, averaging almost 10 runs per 9 innings.
Contrast that with Shelby Miller, who started for the Diamondbacks tonight. We mentioned earlier 2.5 run support last year, dead last in the majors. And that is how you can have a 3-18 record with a pretty decent ERA since late April last year. 2-1 on Jake Lamb. And now 3 balls and a strike. Martinez signed out of the Dominican in 2010 for $1.5 million. He was originally signed by the Red Sox a year earlier, but that deal was voided because there were issues with the documentation with his name and his date of birth. He was raised by his uncle, and so he went by his last name with a birth certificate under a different name. And he misses outside, but they say that he did offer Dan Molino down there at third, so the count goes full on Jake Lamb.
Well, Martinez has 2 strikes in this at bat, but both strikes questionable. The first 2-0 pitch looked like it was outside, but got the call. That one, check swing, as you mentioned. Dan Bellino said he went.
And now Jake Lamb pulls it foul.
Well, obviously really like to get on base here with Paul Goldschmidt looming on deck. As I said earlier, the Diamondbacks, they do feel they will score runs here. And we saw the graphic as compared to Coors Field. This ballpark can yield some runs. See the shift the Cardinals have employed. Diaz moving to the right of second base. Carpenter at the shortstop position.
Down the left field line, but foul.
You know, and this is when we talk about the way that this St. Louis defense is set up. You know how things change. Diaz, and if there was a double play, the ball hit to Carpenter, he takes that ball at second base. Normally it would be the second baseman.
9th pitch of this at bat. Lamb fouls off another.
Lamb doing a nice job. Martinez still getting it up there. That one was at 97.
Carlos Martinez. Hardest pitch that he's thrown tonight, a 97-mile-per-hour fastball, but now he has to throw a 10th pitch to Jake Lamb. Lamb hits it to first. Moss has it. Let's see how the shift handles this. 3-6-3, a double play.
First baseman, Paul.
Really a nice job on the pitch selection, and also Brandon Moss turning that ball. That ball's hit hard to him, so he knows he has time. So he gets his feet set, makes a good, solid throw. Doesn't try to throw it 100 miles an hour. Doesn't try to be too quick because he knows he has time.
Ball one to Paul Goldschmidt. That's one of the reasons his defense, why he's getting the starts over Matt Adams a lot of the time. Like Matheny telling us, the pop is there for Moss, and he's plus defensively. Right now they're not getting much in the way of hitting from Adams, and nobody's ever accused him of being a plus defender.
There's the big man, big country. There have been a couple of guys playing first base. You see Brandon Moss, Matt Adams, even Matt Holliday. A few starts over there.
Started opening day at first base. Matt Holliday did. Maybe playing a little bit less there than they would have initially planned because of the injuries they've dealt with in the outfield. Tommy Pham going down. 2-0 on Paul Goldschmidt, who was 0 for 1 today, and takes a strike.
See, that's what's interesting is that, Martinez, we saw it in the last at bat to Lamb, getting it up there at 97. Falls behind 2-0 to Goldschmidt. Molina goes out there, 2 off-speed pitches. He's even the count.
Another nice play by Brandon Moss, spearing it with the backhand, and in a night where he already has a 3-run homer, some sparkling defense as well to help Carlos Martinez keep the shutout intact. All right, so Hazelbaker goes after the first pitch of the inning. A big bouncer with nobody home. That was in the perfect spot to create a problem for Leon and Goldschmidt. And Hazelbaker has an infield single to start the 7th inning.
Well, that just has more to do with each of the guys not being familiar with the other. And you don't know if Goldschmidt was down there saying, take it, because the minute he comes off the bag, he has to let the pitcher know that he's not going to be at first. The pitcher in this situation is just focusing on the ball. He has to get it and just continue his momentum to first. Goldschmidt kind of got caught in no man's land. Hazelbaker doesn't care. He's got himself a hit.
So ground out for McCutchen, 3 home runs. He going to have another shot. What inning was that? Did you notice?
I didn't, but if he's got to get 3 outs, you could easily go through the lineup. 3 outs in Colorado.
Top of the 8th right now there.
Can't somebody score 7 or 8? What's the score?
Oh yeah.
What was the score?
I know they'll feed that to us here. 8-4.
8-4.
8-4 Pittsburgh.
Yeah, why can't Colorado score 4, tie it up, play a 6-hour game?
He'll get another couple, another 3.
What do you mean?
Make
one
it
at
6.
bat? Come on, you can get 3 more.
Piscotty's 1 for 3. Started the scoring with an RBI double on a misplayed ball in center from Chris Owings. That opened the door for a 5 runs 5th inning. These 2 guys going at it here from a couple of baseball powerhouses. Piscotty's from Stanford. Leon on the mound from Clemson. Came over in the Trumbo deal, the same deal that brought his battery mate Wellington Castillo from the Mariners midway through last season.
Trumbo having a nice start with the Orioles.
Yeah.
Man, swinging it.
The whole team.
That's a nice pitch. 2-0 off speed. Scotty's sitting on a fastball. This thing just drops out of the zone. Boom, drop right out of there.
Piscotty made his big league debut last July. He hit above 300 in the final couple of months. Had a great postseason. And hammers this fly ball to center, sending Owens back to the warning track at the wall, and it's gone to dead center field for Stephen Piscotty. That is big boy power right there. Is he going to get splashed by Carlos Martinez? Yes, he's waiting.
Man, it's almost grounds for maybe not trying to go deep. Maybe he went off the wall.
So a 7-0 St. Louis lead, and now Matt Carpenter takes the ball. .102 the exit velocity. Major league average, high 80s.
So if I'm up there hitting that's kind of cool. I hit a ball 102 miles an hour off my bat. But what I'd like to see is there's a 407 on that sign in center, and I hit it well above that sign.
Yeah.
Let's see the 420 or 430. Put that up there. He'd come at him with a 2-0 slider. That thing was a 2-1 spinner. No break at all, and Piscotty just crushes it.
32 home runs now for the Cardinals this year to lead the majors. And Leon follows that with a 4-pitch walk to Carpenter. Again, the last time the Cardinals led the majors in home runs, 1944. Where does this thing land? Man, I mean, that is clearing the fence by a good bit.
Almost got our cameraman out there. Scotty making some people move their feet.
The 3 home runs in the postseason last year did Piscotty, and now his good friend Randall Grichuk comes up. 0 for 2 with an RBI and a sacrifice fly his last time. Into the hand, strike one. Bounce to third. Land's got it. There's one. Segura to first and a double play. Got the home run distance for you, 434 feet.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Actually, you go tell your buddies, yeah, I hit it 434 feet, not I hit the ball 102 miles an hour. I mean, it's kind of cool, but I'd still like the 430.
Right. You can give them both.
That's a good point.
Brandon Moss hit a home run himself. 3-run blast back in the 5th. Fouls that one hard off of his instep.
That's not good. I think was that inside or was that knee?
How did he get his knee? Whatever it was, it hurt.
I think that was not good.
Trainer Chris Conroy comes out.
it's shin or knee. That's shin. That is not good. You know, the worst part about it is a hitter, that thing, it's throbbing right now. You got to get right back in the box. You know, you're just like, oh, this is not feeling bueno right now. And then on top of that, if you're the pitcher, I'm coming right back in there. Let's see if I can get him to hit it off his leg again.
You know that as a hitter?
Know that as a hitter.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about it. I mean, I would be shocked if Castillo goes outside here.
Yeah,
he knows.
Here they
right
come.
Back in there. Yeah. Let me try and get that back knee too. Wow.
Say that he offered 1 and 2.
Again, this is just so mental right now up at the plate because again, you're not feeling well. You can get right back in there.
We're talking exit velocity and distance on the Piscotty home run. Moss's home run, 394 was the distance. Exit velocity was 97.
Both of them home runs in the big leagues.
And an extra base hit potentially down the line here, depending on how that leg feels. It is a double for Moss, who's having a great all-around night. Minus the following the ball off his shin, limped his way into second.
Yeah, you would think he'd get him out of there. I mean, he's made some nice plays defensively. He's barking right now. Want him out there for tomorrow. Goldschmidt making a nice effort. See Moss favoring that right leg. He's not. Yeah. Gonna keep him out there.
Keep moving, right? It's only going to get worse when he stops. There's Molina. 0 for 2 with a walk tonight. Remember, they already lost Matt Holliday in last night's game with what they've called a leg cramp. They haven't issued what part of the leg. It's like a hockey injury. Lower body, upper body. Leg. We talked with Mike Matheny. He was about to get another update on how Holliday was feeling, but he did take swings during batting practice today. Just going to reevaluate. So there was a chance that he'd be available off of the bench, but that all depended on the report he got on how Holliday felt in the lead-up work to today's game. Leon with an 0-2. Molina lays off. Second and 4 between these teams. Cardinals on their way to winning for the 14th time in the last 16 matchups against Arizona. Prior to last night, they had won 8 in a row against the D-backs. So 1-2 to Yadier Molina, and a breaking ball punished on the line to the left. They will send Moss, testing the arm of Tomas, and it was a good decision. Not the kindest thing in the world to a guy dealing with that leg, but Chris Maloney, who is the third base coach because Jose Oquendo is not with the team with a knee injury, sent him and scored it.
Well, obviously the report is to run on Tomas in left field. Because again, Moss not running extremely well. He's going, he's pumping. They're just jogging on in there. Again, as you watch Tomas come in and throw the ball, not a very strong arm.
Pitching change coming up. All Cardinals in Arizona. Delgado pours in strike one to Jed Jerko. Third pitcher of the day for the Diamondbacks is the former Atlanta Braves highly touted prospect and former starting pitcher that's transitioned into the bullpen. Had a good year last year. So far this year, though, struggling. The ERA above 6. Part of a bullpen that has been taxed over the first month or so of this season. I think it'll be a strength eventually once they get things under control, get a little better length from the starters. Right now, overused.
Well, and that's the thing. You look to a ball club later on, June and July, and if the bullpen is struggling, everybody's always, oh, geez, the bullpen this, the bullpen that. But when the reality is that the issue happened at the beginning of the year because the bullpen had to answer the starters' inadequacies. They couldn't go deep into games. The relievers are being used. Then they wear it come June and July.
Yeah. Zach Greinke. Great baseball mind. His aspirations of running his own team one day. Two to Jed Jerko. Flips into the ground to short for Nick Ahmed. He came over from the Braves in the same deal that brought Delgado. 3 more for the Cardinals. 8-0. Here they trail 8-0. Remember, they had a 9 spot last night in 1 inning, and the 6 to come from behind. It was their 8th comeback win, which leads the majors. This hole is a much bigger one. The 5-2 deficit Chip Hale's team faced last night. And they were able to come from behind against the Cardinals bullpen. Here they're dealing with Carlos Martinez, who pitches into the 7th, having allowed only 2 hits, having walked 1. And only struck out 1. This is outside, ball 1 to David Peralta.
Oh, we talked about it earlier too. Carlos Martinez again getting great run support from his offense. 8 runs tonight. On average 10 runs per 9 innings for each of his starts. I mean, that's crazy when you've got that, when you got that kind of stuff on the mound as far as ability to pitch and a lead like that. I mean, you could basically do whatever you want out there. You don't have to fall into any patterns. It's like you're out in the backyard going, you know what, I'm going to throw a 2-0 fastball. Maybe I'll throw a 2-0 slider. Maybe not. Because again, you're playing with house money.
It kind of fits his personality. Being able to go out there and just spin it. So in his 3 starts prior, a 12-2 win against Atlanta, a 14-3 win against Cincinnati, and then a 5-3 win against the Cubs. Here he's got an 8-0 lead in the 7th. The middle third of the Diamondbacks order coming up. Martinez to Peralta with a 3-2. And a great look at the break on that pitch for strike 3.
And see, that's what I mean. As a hitter right there, you're just going, you got to be kidding me. It's 8-0. It's a 3-2 pitch, and you're getting some sort of change-up off-speed stuff. That is so frustrating as a hitter. Again, 8-0. Just throw me a fastball.
Yeah.
Let me feel good about myself right now. Carlos is saying, ain't happening.
Look at the separation from his hardest throw tonight, which has been 98. The slowest 81. Strike 1 to Tomas.
Besides movement, that causes the biggest problem for hitters. That differential gets hitters off balance. And you know, whether those numbers are 90 and 65 or 90 and 70. I mean, obviously if you're throwing 98, you know, you can have a bigger differential.
Tomas rips a base hit inside the third. Yasmani Tomas with his 3rd double of the series. First extra base hit of the game for the D-backs one night after they had 7.
Well, here he's throwing this changeup, and see how it runs back into the right-handed hitters. A changeup from a right-handed pitcher to left-handed hitters, very effective because that ball runs away from those hitters. But to a right-handed hitter, it usually, from a right-handed pitcher, is going to run into him. And if he keeps it up, it's a real good hit.
Extends the hitting streak to 12 games for Tomas. Brings up Wellington Castillo. Lays off ball 1. You know, Tomas, who just hit that double, has been one of the big bright spots for the Diamondbacks. Dave Magadan, first year as the hitting coach here in Arizona, has had a big impact on Tomas. He speaks fluent Spanish. He's had an instant connection with Tomas. He came over from Cuba, signed that club record deal last year. And Chip Hill told us just the simple ability to be able to give immediate full feedback when he comes back from an at-bat, having your hitting coach as a fluent Spanish speaker has been huge.
Yeah, just the familiarity, the relationship building. Again, Magadan's had a lot of success in other places. He's been in Boston, in Texas, he was in San Diego. Starred many years ago at University of Alabama. He's an All-American there. He could hit.
Replaced Turner Ward as the hitting coach. Turner Ward went to the Dodgers. Two and two on Wellington Castillo, who was flied to right and struck out. It's the only strikeout of the game for Carlos Martinez. He barely stays alive here.
Well, even though Carlos Martinez has an 8-0 lead, he's still pitching like it's a 0-0 game. And I think that's more because of who's calling those pitches, Yadier Molina. And Molina's not going to let him get careless or attack hitters any differently. Still trying to set guys up, get them off balance.
Position well. Diaz didn't even have to move. Castillo the second out of the inning.
The Atlanta Braves way back when he actually got there. Might have been a little bit before the Smoltz, Glavine, or right around that time. He was a big-time pitcher, but just never translated.
That would have been in the really, really, really down years in Atlanta.
Yeah, no, yep, the late 80s, early, yep. That's when he was there. If I'm not mistaken, I think he could hit a little bit too when he was at University of Georgia.
That's 7 consecutive losing seasons the Braves did during that stretch in the late 80s. Before in '91 they started that stretch where they won 14 division titles in 15 years.
That's a good trade-off. You know, I'll take the 7 losing for 14 straight.
Not if you're Lilliquist, who was there for the
that's
7. Yeah, easy for us to say.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Easy for Glavine and Smoltz and them to say. They started to debut right at the tail end of those bad seasons. Chris Owings 0 for 2 tonight. And takes a strike, 2-1.
0 for 2 and had a tough defensive play out in center field for me that really changed the course of this ball game. Misplayed a ball out in center that was ruled a hit, bounced off of his knee. But if he's able to make that catch, Shelby Miller's night on the mound and the Diamondbacks night, much different. You see this, just misjudges it.
Only playing center because A.J. Pollock's injury. He's a middle infielder by trade. Hadn't played outfield since he was 12 years old. And that injury for Pollock came in the final day of spring training. So Owens who had been in a battle for middle infield position, hadn't practiced at all in the outfield during the spring or any years prior, and has done well adjusting, but there are still flashes like that where the inexperience shows. And strike 3 call to finish the inning. Third punch out of the game for Carlos Martinez, who gets bookend Ks here in the 7th, getting Peralta, then getting Owings, and getting 8 runs of support as we go to the 8th. With the 4th pitcher of the night for Arizona, Keith Hessler. And delivers strike 1 to Aledmys Diaz. Defensive changes as well. Yasmani Tomas moves from left to first, so Paul Goldschmidt comes out of the game. Ricky Weeks Jr. checks in left. And Herman now behind the plate doing the catching, replacing Castillo. Diaz on one bounce, backs Ahmed into the outfield grass, showing off a strong arm for the first out of the inning. Chris Myers, what's going on?
Pitcher Carlos Martinez.
I'm telling you, if you ever get a chance to watch Giancarlo Stanton take batting practice. Are you kidding me?
What a play from Ahmed.
Gotta be kidding me with this guy. You've got to be kidding me. I mean, that play is sick right there. For Cardinal fans, that's Ozzie Smith right there. Look at this. He comes in, barehands it.
Wow.
Barehands it with Segura trying to take him out right there. Fields it cleanly and still throws him out. I mean, really?
That's awesome. You're sold, huh?
I'm gonna be singing his praises.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be another one of those guys saying I'm not sure I've seen a guy play a better shortstop.
It's a 1-6-3 put out officially as Hessler got a piece of it.
Back to the Stanton though, hitting
Yeah.
the home run off Kershaw. If you ever get a chance to see him take BP, go watch it. I mean, there are 2 people in my life that I'd go watch hit BP. Former Cardinal Mark McGwire, and then of course Barry Bonds. I used to go out early when we play against him and watch those guys hit. It was something. Giancarlo Stanton, same way. They were playing against the Dodgers last year. Put my kids in the car. We rode up just to go sit and watch BP. Turned around, went home.
Is that the series where he homered out?
That's
at
when he went. It was the
Stadium?
game.
Yeah.
That was the game. Didn't stay for it.
You mentioned McGwire. Those are 2 of the only guys to do that.
Piazza hit one out of the Dodger Stadium.
Willie
as well.
Stargell, the only guy to do it multiple times.
Twice, yep.
And then you in the
in BP.
Yeah, in BP and in the what's it called?
They call
the
that an old
game?
They call it an old timers game. That's the game where all the old timers get together and play is called an old timers game.
Oh, how'd they come up with that? Ball and 2 strikes on Jeremy Hazelbaker. It takes outside. So in 2010, I guess it would have been, I was in AA Montgomery. Giancarlo was then Mike Stanton. He was in AA Jacksonville in the Marlins system. We had a huge scoreboard on top of a huge left center field wall. He homered over the scoreboard and then got called up to the majors the next day for his debut.
I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I thought I'd seen it all with McGwire hitting balls, but this is something to behold.
Barry Bonds now his hitting coach. That's a base hit for Hazelbaker. Just keeps on hitting again. Got off to that red hot start, but then cooled off some. Was 1 for his last 23 before yesterday when he came off of the bench to triple and homer. And now today, 2 hits and a walk, and he scored a couple of runs.
Right fielder, Stephen Piscotty.
It's guys like him that have helped this Cardinals team, despite some slow starts from key pieces, be number 2 in the majors, averaging more than 6 runs per game. And boosting that runs per game average even more tonight. It's ball 1 to Piscotty, who crushed a home run to dead center field his last time up. 434 feet. It's the official distance on home run number 4 this season for him.
Really, Cardinal offense just keeps going. You know, even when they lose, they're putting up runs, as they did last night. 8th spot tonight.
I wonder what this offense will look like when Grichuk and Wong and Carpenter and Holiday get going back closer to their career marks. As Piscotty walks, back-to-back 2-out base runners for the Cardinals. And Ruben Tejada will bat here.
Number 19, Ruben Tejada.
So Tejada was signed during the spring after Johnny Peralta went down with the injury. But then Tejada injured his quad during spring training, and that opened up an opportunity for Aledmys Diaz. And even once Tejada was healthy again, ready to come off of the disabled list, Diaz had done it off where there was no everyday spot for Tejada.
Healthy cut right there.
Keith Hessler with 2 on and 2 out in the 8th. All St. Louis tonight. 5 in the 5th, 3 in the 7th. A couple of more home runs for the Cardinals. Moss went deep, so did Piscotty. And Shelby Miller in position to take yet another loss.
You know, again, though, I think if you're Arizona, there's some good things you saw with Shelby Miller tonight. I thought he threw well early on. Really was not helped by his defense at all.
Tejada shoots a fly ball to right for David Peralta. That will finish the inning. Not many things to get excited about tonight if you're Diamondback fans, but this play right here was something special. Went off of the pitcher. He was shielded by the second baseman, and Nick Ahmed still made the play. He's on his way to a 4th consecutive quality start in as many starts to open this year when he gets a swinging strike from Nick Ahmed to begin this 8th inning. What have you thought tonight of Martinez?
I mean, he's been great, and he hasn't changed his pattern of pitching no matter the score. I mean, you see right here, he starts off Ahmed with a breaking ball, an 8-0 lead, a guy that's not a notorious hitter, and back-to-back breaking pitches. He threw a 3-2 pitch to Peralta, breaking ball, for a strike 3 in the dirt that Peralta offered at. And so that's one thing, and that's him. That's also the guy behind the plate, not allowing him to drift, to change his pattern. And I'll tell you, I really like this side shot because it shows the speed and the reaction time in which, you know, the hitters, the pitchers, even the fielders have to react. You know, that's the one thing that changes at each level, whether it's little league going to high school, going to college, minor leagues, and big leagues. The speed at which the game is played gets faster and faster.
Puts it in play to Ruben Tejada, who stayed in the game after batting for Matt Carpenter. And gets Ahmed for the first down to the bottom of the 8th. 9 97 pitches today for Martinez, who now faces Ricky Weeks Jr. for the first time. Checked in and left last inning on a double switch. All those years in the Central playing for the Milwaukee Brewers against St. Louis. Spent some time last year with the Mariners, and Chip Hill told us his voice has been an important one in the D-backs clubhouse so far this year. But the Diamondbacks got off to that 4-8 start, and Weeks stood up in the clubhouse in San Diego and said, look, I was in a similar situation in Seattle last year. Team that came in with big expectations, got off to a slow start, and he got two choices. You can panic or you can have a sense of urgency. That Seattle team panicked and had a miserable year. And since that talk, this Diamondbacks team has had more of a sense of urgency, winning 7 of 9 since.
And this is a type of guy that you need on a ball club. Can help you a little bit offensively, but the experience most important.
Martinez has passed 100 pitches for the first time this year. Trying to complete this 8th inning with an 8-0 lead on Arizona. And he gets it. Time for a game break. Let's say hello again to Chris Myers.
Second baseman, Shane Segura.
Johnny Giavotella, huh? Going deep off Volquez.
Well, he could always hit. He working more on his defense, playing a better second base.
It's against his former team.
Yes, it is. That's right.
Gene Segura. A couple of former Brewers coming out back-to-back against Martinez here. After Weeks, now Segura. Right back to the mound for Martinez, who has pitched 8 scoreless innings tonight. Martinez, 8 shutout innings, gave up just 3 hits. 4 starts, 4 quality starts for him this year. On to the 9th with an 8-0 lead.
And again, same thing. Every time he's out there, he gets the great run support. Cardinal offense doing it again tonight for him. 8 runs.
Randall Grichuk swings to the first one from Hessler. Strike 1. Brought home a run during the 5-run 5th with a sacrifice fly. Keith Hessler's 2nd inning of action.
That's a good pitch right there by Hessler. Staying on the outside part.
That ball's drilled to center, but playable for Owings. There have been some adventures in the least likely spots on the bases for the Cardinals this year. April 14th. Against the Brewers, Grichuk hit a home run. Boss goes back to tag. Grichuk passes. The umpires didn't see it, so nothing happened. Now the correct ruling we'll get to in a second, before noting that it almost happened again tonight. Hazelbaker retreating. Piscotty, threw on the brakes, made sure that he didn't pass him on a ball that got out, a 2-run homer. And here's Moss taking a ball. Now the correct ruling is the runner that passes the other runner is out on that home run. The other runners score. But you go back to April 14th. It was Grichuk that hit the home run, right? Grichuk should have been out, credited with a single for getting first base. He occupied that base and then passed Moss. Moss scores. Grichuk, though, should have been credited with a single and then out.
And then after the game, you get to punch Moss for screwing up your home run.
Base hit into center. What a day it's been for him. It's his 4th hit.
Yeah, Moss really playing well. I mean, you mentioned 4th hit, and he's made some nice defensive plays as well tonight. Really just all around great game.
Came into the game 1 for his last 21. Mike Matheny told us before the game, just been missing. Speaking of first base, Matt Adams grabs a bat and will pinch hit here for Yadier Molina. Missed most of last season with a quad injury. They're hoping that he could recapture that form from 2014, but in the times that he's had opportunities, he's not done particularly well. And they like Brandon Moss a lot.
Well, and one of the things that there is a great separation is the ability to play defense, and we've seen that tonight. Well, Brandon Moss made some very nice plays over there at first. You remember Brandon Moss just a few years ago with Oakland. Very productive. Ended up having that hip injury. Hasn't got back to that same form. Cardinals hoping that happens this year.
He's got his first 4-hit game since May of last year while he was with the Indians. Did that against the Mariners. Now the Cardinals last year were dead last in the National League in OPS from their first baseman. OPS is slugging and on base percentage combined. So with Adams going down in late May, that's with Moss coming over at the trade deadline. He sends a fly ball into foul ground the other way, twisting play. And it's not been much better this year between Moss and Adams prior to tonight. Again, coming into the game, Moss was hitting just 170 before the 4-hit performance this evening. Mark Reynolds was the guy that saw the other starts last year for Mike Matheny at first base. Reynolds now with the Rockies. Adams turns this one around to dead center field for Owings, who's got room. And that's the inning. On to, well, no, it's not. Second out. I'm trying to get us to the bottom of the 9th, EK.
I see you working.
Yeah.
I hear you. Probably a few other people trying to get to that point as well. We've got an 8-0 ball game. Been all Cardinals tonight. Been swinging the bats well. Played some good defense. Carlos Martinez on the hill has been outstanding. Looks like he goes 8 innings. Lions coming in for the 9th.
Jerko. Well, in a year where Adam Wainwright so far has not been himself, Mike Leake has not been very good yet. Carlos Martinez has been the bright spot of that Cardinals rotation. Eight shutout innings for him tonight. Waka and Garcia have both been solid, but Martinez has been the standout among that starting rotation. There's Wainwright, who is 0-3 with a .725 so far.
Hey, you just got to figure that he'll get it right. But then on the flip side, you just wonder how many times coming back from injury and making adjustments. You know, at some point, age is going to catch up. Wear and tear. Just not sure if this is the year or if he does get it going. If he does get it going, again with Leake and Martinez, Garcia, that pitching staff, the starting staff, is as good as any in the National League.
Turco goes down on an elevated fastball, and now the 8th inning, or the top of the 9th inning, is over with the Cardinals in front 8-0. Started 7th appearance this year, 3.5 ERA, and will face 2, 3, and 4 in the Arizona order. Jake Lamb looking at strike one. So Carlos Martinez, 8 shutout innings, allows only 3 hits, strikes out 4, walks 1, and hands it off to Lyons. 2 more games in this series. It'll be Patrick Corbin and Adam Wainwright tomorrow, and then Ruby De La Rosa, Michael Wacha in the series finale on Thursday. Lamb sends this fly ball to deep right center field and gets the D-backs on the board in the 9th. Into the pool.
To pitch out over the plate. Lamb makes a nice pass at it. Puts it out near the pool area.
And they're only shut out twice at home all of last year. They hadn't been shut out at home this year, and they still haven't been shut out at home this year with the 9th inning solo shot from Lamb. Chris Herman the batter now, and Paul Goldschmidt's spot in the order. Came in to do the catching a couple of innings ago. First year with the Diamondbacks, came over from the Twins last offseason. And Lyons makes quick work of it. The throw almost gets away from Eric Fryer, who's into the game to do the catching for Lyons. 1 away.
Right field, David Peralta.
David Peralta, former Cardinals farmhand as a pitcher. Had a couple of shoulder surgeries. Was released, went into the independent leagues, turned himself into an outfielder. Make it sound simple. Turn himself into an outfielder, and D-back scout found him, and here he is in his 2nd season in the majors. Oh, ducked out of the way of a nasty hook.
Wow. Don't see that often at this level. I mean, the hand went off the bat. Watch the hand. Whoa, hey.
Peralta, when he was released by the Cardinals, before he headed off to play in independent baseball, he had to spend a month working at McDonald's to make enough gas money to be able to drive from his home in Florida to Texas to join the independent minor league team.
Story of perseverance. I mean, to make it in this game, you've got to have talent, but you've got to love to play. You've got to love the process, because there are going to be a ton of bumps along the road.
Same pitch, bailed out again. Lyons got him, and 2 away in the 9th.
Well, after he took that first pitch where his hand came off the bat, he got a couple more curveballs, and then boom, something similar to that one that made him flinch.
Osmani Tomas 1 for 3 today. He sends an opposite field fly ball to right, and the D-backs have gone deep twice here in the 9th inning. 5th for Tomas.
Gets a pitch on the outer part of the plate. Boom. Actually, middle part of the plate. Has sort of that Miguel Cabrera type swing where it lets the ball travel and shoots it to right center.
So these two teams again are tied for the major league lead in home runs, 32. Brendan Drury hitting here with 2 gone in the 9th and taking ball 1. Been a bright spot for this team so far. Entered the year ranked as one of the top prospects in the system. And has started to face left-handed starters as the third baseman for Arizona. There's a strike, 3-1. So the Cardinals will move to 11-9 on the year. The Diamondbacks will fall back to 500 at 11-11. Still though 7 of 10 for Arizona after that 4-8 start. Softly hit to first. Lyons touches the bag and puts a capper on an 8-2 win for St. Louis. So even the series at a game apiece after the Diamondbacks won 12-7 last night. Cardinals ride a 4-hit performance from Brandon Moss that includes a 3-run homer, one of 2 homers hit tonight by St. Louis. For Eric Karros and the rest of our crew, Joe Davis saying so long from Arizona. Now we get you to MLB Whip Around. Chris, Frank, and Dontrell. Take it away, Chris.